Hey Merfolk fans, I'm Joe. Thanks very much for joining me today. In a couple minutes I'm going to get into a replay of a competitive Modern League. But first I wanted to give you guys a look at the deck list that I've been running lately. And the one that I ran in the league that you guys are going to see here. So let's see, starting with the main deck, notable adjustments recently have been the addition of 2 Smugglers Copters, 1 and 2. At the expense of the 4th Reejerey and the 4th Master of Waves. So these guys have both been cut back to 3 each in order to make room for these 2 Smugglers Copters and also to accommodate 2 Kiras. For a little while I was running 1 Kira and still had the 4th Reejerey, but Kira is just really good right now. One of our biggest difficulties as a deck is spot removal, and Kira can win games where that's all the opponent has, single-handedly. So I feel really good having 2 copies of Kira. Kira also works really well together with Smuggler's Copter because she protects the Copter, lets it get in for the attack trigger or block trigger, and lets us get the loot, so we get to draw into better cards. Everything else pretty much the same. I'm running 1 Dismember in the main deck and 1 Echoing Truth. Any of you guys who have watched my videos know that I've loved Echoing Truth for a long time. Some people, notably Rothgar, is running 2 Echoing Truths in the sideboard with 2 Dismembers in the main. I don't think I need 2 Echoing Truths. I think 1 is enough. There's not a lot of matchups where I absolutely need to see the Echoing Truth, but it's nice when I do see it. Instead of that, I'm running the 1 in the main deck and 2 Dismembers in the side. So yeah, everything else pretty much stock. I'm still running 4 Wanderwine Hubs, which comes in really handy against the mirror match. If you can keep the opponent off Island Walk in the Merfolk mirror match, you can pretty much take your time and win the game at your own pace, because you'll be able to chump block where necessary, you'll be able to attack with Smuggler's Copter and loot into whatever you need, removal, etc. Island Walk Lords, since the opponent seems invariably to be playing a lot of islands in Merfolk, and for some reason most Merfolk pilots don't seem to be running the Wanderwine Hubs these days. Let me know your guys' thoughts on the positioning of Wanderwine Hub right now, and why or why you're not running it. So, quickly looking at the sideboard over here, until very recently, I had 4 Ceremonious Rejections. I really love this card. It helps in our worst matchup, historically, Affinity. So I was running 4 because it was so good in that matchup, but Smuggler's Copter is also amazing in that matchup. Any of their small flyers, Signal Pest, Vault Scourge, Blinkmoth Nexus, Inkmoth Nexus, etc., they get shut down by Smuggler's Copter. So unless they have like an Arcbound Ravager that can pump one of their guys really big, bigger than Smuggler's Copter, or Cranial Plating, Smuggler's Copter a lot of times will just eat Affinity's attackers, and so they won't attack into it a lot of the time, which will give us more turns to develop a board and hopefully win the game. So since Smuggler's Copter also helps at the Affinity matchup, I decided I could shave 1 of our 4 Ceremonious Rejections, going down to 3. And I really like 4 Negates right now. That's another thing that Rothgar has been running in his list recently, 4 Negates. One of our weakest matchups is Scape Shift, Valakut, Primeval Titan type decks, and a Resolve Scape Shift usually just kills us dead, so having 4 Negates makes me feel much better about that matchup. And obviously Negate is excellent against a wide range of decks, from Burn, which is sort of hyper aggro, to Control and Combo. So it doesn't hit creatures, obviously. That's the only thing it doesn't hit. But this is a really powerful spell. The mana is flexible. We can cast it with Mutavault as long as we have, or Cavern of Souls as long as we have 1 blue mana source out. So 4 Negates, 3 Ceremonious Rejections, 2 Dispels, sort of as a quicker counterspell. Comes in again against Combo and Control. Also comes in against Burn. And then 4 Relics. Excellent against all of the many decks that care about the graveyard, from Tarmogoyf strategies, anything running Lingering Souls or Snapcaster Mage. Of course, you've got Dredge, you've got Storm running Past in Flames, I mean, the list goes on and on. Living End, there's so many decks, like half the decks in Modern really, really care about the graveyard. And for Relic of Progenitus, I feel excellent about and have for a long time now. When it's not really needed, it can just cycle into another Merfolk or some removal. It just draws us a card. So really excellent piece of our sideboard. And then the 2 extra Dismembers, they come in against creature decks. They come in against creature-based combo decks like Devoted Druid. Backs up the single Dismember I have in the main deck. And yeah, it even comes in against Affinity. Those guys pressure our life total pretty hard. But if we can Dismember their Steel Overseer or their Arcbound Ravager, or just the thing wearing Cranial Plating, it can at least slow them down a turn or two, and that's sometimes all we need against Affinity. So yeah, this is my current list. Let me know your guys' thoughts. I've been feeling really, really good about it in the current metagame. I've been doing really well in recent leagues. So yeah, I've just been grinding. I've got a few of these qualifier points now. The treasure chests are getting up there. And going over here to the replay screen, I've been managing to keep my rating pretty high, just ticking above 1800 recently. So I'm going to scroll down now to the replay section that I'm going to show you guys. So if you don't want to see the results, please look away for a second. Working on it. Alright, so here I am with game 1 of round 1. I won the die roll, and let's have a look at the opening hands. Unfortunately, I had to mulligan that one. I clicked pretty quickly. It was a 1-lander. And this is sort of a sketchy keep, but Cavern of Souls is great in some matchups, and Mutavault is also great in some matchups. The 2 Masters, obviously great in all matchups. So this was a keep, especially with the Scry. And it looks like the opponent kept his 7, so Silvergill is perfect. Put that right on the top of my deck. I much prefer to run the Silvergill out, especially with Cavern of Souls, if the opponent has any blue mana up. Okay, so play an island and pass the turn. In situations where we're not sure if we're playing against the mirror match, we sort of have to assume that we're not playing against the mirror match. I mean, Merfolk makes up some tiny percentage of the overall modern metagame. And while I could, in theory, keep them off of Island Walk, I'd rather not give away to the opponent on turn 1 the fact that I'm playing Merfolk, either by playing Cavern of Souls and naming Merfolk, or by playing a Mutavault, which pretty much gives it away right away anyway. If the opponent plays something like a Serum Visions, then if they know we're on Merfolk, they can scry away something that they might otherwise have taken in favor of, you know, digging to spot removal or something like that, or a sweeper. So Island could represent anything in Modern. It could represent Storm. It could represent blue-white control. Really broad range. So here's the Steam Vents tapped. And we get to run out our Silvergill with a second Island, still not giving away the Cavern of Souls yet, in case the opponent might want to hold up Counter Magic next turn instead of playing something like a Serum Visions. If they pass the turn with Mana Leak up and we jam Cavern of Souls, that can be a pretty big blowout since they're wasting their tempo for that turn. Okay, so Silvergill drawing a Harbinger. Nice to see. We don't have any interaction in our hand yet, so... Okay, so Goblin Electromancer. We're definitely playing against Storm. This is a really powerful deck. Since Baral, Compliance, whatever his name is, was printed, and the deck has sort of doubled up on its Goblin Electromancer effects, it switched over very effectively to a Gifts Ungiven plan. And Gifts Ungiven in this deck, in particular with Past in Flames, is basically like a 4 mana instant speed, get 4 cards out of your deck that you want, and you get to cast 2 of them twice. It's really gross. I mean, it's that powerful. 2 or 4 cards, and you get to cast all of them, but 2 of them you even get to cast twice. So it can be really hard to stop Storm. Something I did mention last turn is that rather than run out Mutavault, I decided to run out a second island. The reason being that, well, precisely this. If I drew into a Cursecatcher, I'd be able to have access to 3 blue mana and play 2 creatures this turn instead of just 1. So sequencing can be of the lands can be really important in modern Merfolk, and something that gets maybe a little bit overlooked. So we're going to run out an Island Walk Lord and a Cursecatcher here. Hopefully the Cursecatcher can slow them down a little bit. We're going to get in for 3 with Island Walk here, although the opponent wouldn't have blocked with his Electromancer anyway. That's a key part of their combo. Okay, tapping 2 for Baral, Chief of Compliance. Here's the guy I was just talking about. Basically just another Goblin Electromancer with a little bit of an added bonus that whenever he counters something, he can draw a card and discard. So loot, just like our Smuggler's Copter. So one of the neat things that this deck does is it runs probably a couple of remands. I think that's about it. They don't run too many. But if they cast Grape Shot, they can remand the actual spell back to their hand, and all of the copies stay on the stack. So if Baral is out, they get to cast Grape Shot, get like 9 copies. They get to scry because they countered a spell, or sorry, not scry, loot, and then just recast the Grape Shot. So often in that case, the loot is inconsequential since just casting Grape Shot twice is usually enough to make it happen. But the opponent having redundant cost reduction effects on board now, so they can cast Gifts Ungiven for 2 at this point, which is a little bit scary. They thought about getting in with the Electromancer, but then thought better of it. I probably would have blocked with the Cursecatcher. Alright, so Lord of Atlantis changes my plan. I was just going to jam Mutavault and Master of Waves, but now we can just play a Lord of Atlantis and a Mutavault, attack for 10, and just threaten lethal. Either way, we were threatening lethal next turn, but the Lord is a little bit more elegant because I get to attack with all of my creatures this turn, including my other Island Walk Lord. So the opponent missed a land drop last turn, important to note. We've got a Cursecatcher constraining them. So swing for 10 here, and let's see what the opponent is working with. Alright, so Pyretic Ritual, tapping their Steam Vents. I see that they only have access to this island as blue mana. So if they don't have a Monomorphos in hand, and I counter this, or I try to counter this and they pay for it with their island, they're going to be stuck on just red mana, which can shut them off of Gifts Ungiven, which is a really important piece of their combo most of the time. So I'm going to try to sack the Cursecatcher. I've got redundant sort of overkill creatures over here. Opponent does use that blue mana to pay for the Cursecatcher tax. And let's just see what they're working with here. So unfortunately they do lead off with the Monomorphos. That's going to filter their mana, so they have 2 red, going up to 3 red, 2 blue, and here's that Gifts Ungiven for 2 mana, still 3 in the pool. This is insane. The fact that they're stuck on 2 lands. I had a Cursecatcher, and they're still going off. So opponent digs up Monomorphos, Pyretic Ritual, and Past in Flames. So Past in Flames, you know, the effect only matters once, so that's one that we can easily let them have in their hand. And we really don't want them to cast Monomorphos twice, if at all possible, because it filters their mana, gains them mana when they have these guys out on the board. So we're going to put Monomorphos in the graveyard along with one of the rituals. It really doesn't matter at this point because they've got the mana, they've got the Past in Flames that they can cast for just 2, especially after ritualing again. This is so gross. Here's the Serum Visions from the hand. I'm just going to hit the play button here and run it out. Monomorphos. Storm count is up to 7. Grape Shot. Okay, whole bunch of copies. Storm count is pretty high. Okay, and at that point, I just scooped because the opponent could have played it again from the graveyard. So, a game that looked like sort of easy path to victory, just turned on a dime, and the opponent won off of 2 mana through a Cursecatcher. Very impressive stuff. So, look away for a second if you don't want to see the match result. I'm going to click away now. Alright, I'm back with game 2. I will be on the play, of course. Let's have a look at the opening hand. This is super solid. Looks like a turn 4 win if it's uninterrupted. Okay, tap Steam Vents. No Serum Visions or anything like that. We're going to take AEther Vial up and run out a Silvergill and the Cursecatcher right away. Okay. Another Island Walk Lord. Things are heating up. Opponent plays a Spire Bluff Canal and passes back to me. So very slow on the opponent's side. No Electromancer, no Baral, Chief of Compliance. There's another Silvergill. But at this point, we might just want to push damage. So going to try to swing for 7. Let's see if the opponent can stop it. So that was my turn 3. Turn 4, we're already coming for lethal with Xaxes on the board. All right, we're going to take this up because we've got another Lord, and looks like an easy turn 4 win with 3 Lords. We're swinging for 17 here. Okay, yep, 17. What does the opponent have? Starts tapping blue. I was expecting red for removal. Well, this is very strange. Wipe away. It's from, let's see, split second. Return target permanent to its owner's hand. That's a really expensive unsummon effect. So I can't counter it with Cursecatcher because it has split second. So it's going to bounce my Lord, and instead of attacking for 17, we're going to be attacking for just 10. Alright, so the opponent will have another turn, but he doesn't have a lot going on over there. So I'm going to click through this wipe away, and the opponent is probably just going to take their 10. Now, I don't think that they sideboard in things like Anger of the Gods, but just in case they have another land and an Anger of the Gods to play around Cursecatcher, I'm going to play that Lord out again. It takes me off of Silvergill unless I draw another Merfolk to play him with. But I do get to untap a land and leave up Dismember in case the opponent plays out Baral and tries to go nuts. But they just scooped up at that point. So an insane game 1 for Storm and an insane game 2 for Merfolk. We had tons of Lords. We had some control with Cursecatcher and Dismember. Yeah, so things feeling pretty good in that game. Let's go ahead to the last game of the round. Look away if you don't want to see the match result. I'm going to click now. All right, back with game 3. Opponent's going to be on the play this time. So this is a very, very nice hand against Storm. I haven't mentioned my sideboard plan against him yet, but it just happens that I have an insane amount of hate against Storm in my sideboard. Because of all the combo decks and control decks, burn decks in the format, I've got 4 negates. On top of 2 dispels, so that's 6 counter spells I bring in. I bring in 4 Relic of Progenitus, that's 10 cards, and then 2 Dismembers, 2 extra Dismembers, making it 3 after sideboarding. So I'm bringing in 12 cards against Storm, 12 really good cards, 6 counter spells, 2 extra removal spells, and 4 graveyard hate. So I've got the Copter for turn 2. I've got a Reejerey to equip it, if nothing else. So easy keep for me. Let's see how this game goes. Okay, no turn 1 action for the opponent, and Dispel just makes things that much better. Countering a Monomorphos, countering a Gifts Ungiven. We'll open with one of our Relic of Progenitus. I don't think this combo deck can afford to bring in Artifact Hate. Okay, there's Goblin Electromancer. We've got the Dismember for that guy. Harbinger is good, but I mean it's really just a body to get Smuggler's Copter going. So this turn, I'm actually going to take a turn off of just running out Smuggler's Copter since they do have the Goblin Electromancer reducing the cost of all their spells. I really would rather not risk them going off on turn 3. So play out a second Relic, really, really hating on their graveyard, and just leave up mana for... I'm sorry, not leave up mana. Leave the mana up to Dismember the Goblin Electromancer. So we're sitting really comfortably at the end of our second turn. We can exile the Electromancer from the graveyard. I don't think there was any way he was getting that guy back anyway, but next turn we'll have 2 relics up. If we draw a land, we can play a creature, or play the Smuggler's Copter and have up Dispel. So it looks like the opponent has another cost reducer. They have a Baral. There's a land. We don't want to start shipping away lands with Smuggler's Copter just yet. We need some mana to play out creatures and leave up counter magic and mana to crack Relic if possible. So, okay, play it with the Wanderwine Hub, and I think I just revealed the Reejerey. Yep. But it's correct sequencing to play out the Smuggler's Copter first, and then equip it next turn with our summoning stick guys. So leaving up mana to crack a Relic or to cast a Dispel. Opponent plays a third land, and it looks like they're getting in with Baral, so we're actually going to get some value out of waiting to play out our creatures. Typically, if we have a creature on the board, the opponent wouldn't attack into it with Baral, but since I have an empty board, the opponent's going to try to squeeze an extra point of damage. That's going to hurt, especially since I have Cavern of Souls. Even if they have like Remand, they won't be able to stop Harbinger of the Tides. So things going really nicely for us so far. Well, there's a fourth land. I still don't think it's time to ship anything with Smuggler's Copter. We're certainly going to attack with it, but I think I want this land out after I play the Harbinger to have mana to crack a Relic and mana to cast Dispel. So play the Wanderwine Hub. I think I revealed the Harbinger this time just because he's coming right now. So an uncounterable Harbinger, bouncing their cost reducer, that actually sets Storm back a ton because they try to make everything in their deck like more than hyper efficient by reducing the cost of everything. They don't run a ton of lands, I don't think, so they're going to have to use 2 of their precious mana again to replay that guy, and they won't have too much mana left that turn to go off. So Harbinger doing a great job there, unexpectedly actually. So we can go ahead and crew up the Copter. Going to get in. Hopefully the opponent doesn't have any removal. Now, I virtually always dig. Even though I like Reejerey and I like Dispel, we can always draw something better. And if we don't draw something better, we can just throw it away. So a Dismember is pretty nice, I think. We don't have a ton of hate in the deck. So I actually pitched the Reejerey there, opting instead to just work with the 2 creatures I've got on board. We'll get plenty of digs with Smuggler's Copter probably, and we can kill their Baral when they play him back out, and we still have Dispel up to protect us from Gifts Ungiven and other things like that. So here's Baral. Let's see if the opponent just passes. It looks like that's what they're doing. So end step, I'm going to Dismember this guy. It's just a little bit scary because if they do start going off, they only need to really get up to 10 spells to get a lethal grape shot. That's typically not too difficult for Storm. It's much more difficult with 2 relics on the board, though. So I have the option of cycling one of these relics, but I'd really rather not. They provide really great redundant protection for when the opponent actually decides to try to get fancy. So here now, I can play out a Reejerey. There's a really good draw, actually, hitting a creature there, because I can play out Reejerey, equip the Smuggler's Copter with Reejerey, and then swing for 6 instead of just swinging for the 3 with Smuggler's Copter. So go ahead and cast an uncounterable Merrow Reejerey. We will equip the Copter with that guy, since he has Summoning Sickness, and go ahead and swing. Hopefully we'll get another loot. And even though I definitely want Dispel in my hand, I'm going to go ahead and loot anyway. There's an island. We do not want that island to be our draw for next turn, so we get to throw that away. So that's pretty nice. Now, I guess what I'm doing here is it's more likely that we draw, I guess, an island, an extra land at this point that we don't want, than that we draw like a negate and that we have to pitch an extra negate. So I guess the odds are in our favor to take the loot, even if we definitely are going to discard pretty much whatever we draw. Anyhow, moving on, the opponent looks like they're going to take 6 here, go down to 11, and get a pretty quick clock at this point. Oh, there's another Baral. So they've got plenty of these cost-reducing creatures here. So that guy will resolve, plays a tapped Spire Bluff Canal. That's one of the drawbacks of these fast lands, is he might have liked to use that mana this turn, but since he already controlled 3 lands, it comes into play tapped. I think now might be a time to cycle one of these relics. I'm not sure if I did, but it seems like a good chance to draw another card. So there's another Island Walk Lord. It's going to accelerate our clock The opponent currently doesn't control an island, but if we need to, we can tap down Baral. Probably not necessary since it's a 1/3 and our creatures are going to have 3 power or more. And he would block with that guy anyway. So that was a fabulous draw. We've got really, really strong hate at this point between Relic and 2 counterspells. So I get to cast the Master, untap a land, leave up 3 mana for 2 counterspells, and or Relic of Progenitus. So let's get this party started. Untap the island, and this is going to be a pretty powerful attack, actually. I think it's for just about 10. Alright, so we're going to crew up the Smuggler's Copter with Master of the Pearl Trident. Okay, swinging for 10 here. It's going to take the opponent off of his Polluted Delta, which is pretty nice. Unfortunately, we can't remove Baral yet again. I'm going to open up my exile here. So we've already dismembered 2 of their creatures. They had the 3rd. Going to get another loot with Smuggler's Copter here. It was an AEther Vial, so we get to pitch that thing away. Smuggler's Copter continuing to do a really excellent job. Opponent can't really block with Baral since they need him if they want to do anything next turn. Go down to 1, again, can't use their fetch land. And we see the diversity and sort of extent of my sideboard hate against Storm. We've drawn removal, we've drawn counterspells, we've drawn graveyard hate. Alright, what are they going to start off with? So sleight of hand, you should always let this one go. It's not threatening anything. The opponent is trying to draw into other spells, which we can easily counter with our counterspells. So opponent here is going for the Pyretic Ritual. Again, they can't crack this Polluted Delta. And odds are one of the lands in their hand, the lands in their hand are either fast lands or fetch lands. So they're probably just stuck on the mana that they have. So I think it's time here to try to counter the Pyretic Ritual. Now, Pyretic Ritual in itself isn't going to win anything. But it gives them more mana to work with, and I'd rather constrain them since they already have so little access to mana this turn. I'm going to lead with Negate. I could have gone with Dispel, but if the opponent wants to respond to this at instant speed, they're going to have to, well, it's going to be counterable by Dispel as well, so. Opponent thinks about doing something, and then does go for it. They really want this Pyretic Ritual. I'm going to follow up with my own Dispel, which will take me off of Relic of Progenitus, but should leave the opponent on no mana at all. Well, actually, I'm sorry. 3 mana, which then they could go off. If I don't counter this, I'll have 3 mana, which then they can cast Monomorphose, get some more blue mana, and just start going nuts, I guess. So very, very good that we have an extra counterspell. It's a little bit more important than the Relic right here, I think. So we do tap out, and the opponent scooped it up at that point. So this is a matchup that I'd say we're slight underdogs. Even though, I don't know, I have a lot of sideboard hate against the deck, it can still just be so hard keeping pace with them. They can win on turn 3 pretty easily, turn 4 even easier. So yeah, the counterspells did really well, the Dismembers did really well. Those are some good choices for you guys if you're looking for help against Storm. We definitely saw the power of Smuggler's Copter in that game in particular. Got to throw away like an extra land, an extra vial, and got to do a lot of damage. So I'm really digging Smuggler's Copter. Let me know your guys' thoughts on Smuggler's Copter, on the Storm matchup, and I'll catch you in the next video where I'll be playing round 2. Thanks a lot. I'll see you soon.